Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin have spoken, and the verdict is in. Russia is not ending the war in Ukraine yet. Trump did not get the deal that he was hoping for, but he has an opening. Trump is perhaps the closest any leader has come to ending this war. He has managed to extract some concessions. There will be a limited ceasefire in Ukraine. Here are the details. The Trump-Putin phone call lasted over 2 hours. They spoke for more than 2 hours, and the bottom line is this: Russia will not attack Ukraine's energy infrastructure. That is what they've agreed to. This halt is for 30 days. Russian forces will not attack Ukraine's energy infrastructure for a month. So facilities like power stations will remain safe. But Ukraine's civilians are still vulnerable. So are Ukrainian cities and ports. The fighting will continue there. But Russia has also made some gestures of goodwill. In this phone call, Putin committed to a few things, like releasing some Ukrainian prisoners of war. And this release is going to happen in 2 rounds. First, some 23 Ukrainian soldiers will be released. They were seriously wounded during the fighting and they were being treated in Russian hospitals. Now they will be freed. In the second round, there will be a prisoner exchange. 175 prisoners will be released from each side. That's 175 from Ukraine and another 175 from Russia. Now, even though this is a limited ceasefire, this is no doubt a breakthrough. For the first time in a 3-year war, hostilities will cease. The White House has issued a statement. It has termed this truce a step towards peace. Even though the U.S. did not get the agreement it was hoping for, a week ago, U.S. and Ukrainian officials met in Saudi Arabia. We told you about this, and they agreed to a comprehensive ceasefire, one that would have completely stopped the fighting and started negotiations for a truce. But Russian President Putin was not open to that. Russia has made extensive demands from both the US and Europe to end this war, and we'll tell you about those demands in just a bit. But first, let's tell you about Donald Trump. What did the US President say about the phone call? Trump has issued a statement on Truth Social, his own social media platform. He said the phone call was, quote-unquote, very good and productive. Trump is confident that this would lead to a complete ceasefire. But in an interview later, Trump conceded that Russia has the advantage.
Well, you have a situation where you have a lot of guns pointing at each other foolishly, because it would have never happened if I were president. That was not a war that was supposed to happen. And it did happen, so that's where we are. And right now, you have a lot of guns pointing at each other, and a ceasefire without going a little bit further would have been tough. Russia has the advantage, as you know. They have encircled about 2,500 soldiers. They are nicely encircled, and that's not good.
On the other side, the Kremlin released an extensive summary of the call. The leaders covered far more ground. Trump and Putin discussed the conflict in West Asia, the tensions in the Red Sea, economic and energy cooperation, and some sports too. Putin suggested that ice hockey teams from both countries should play matches. And apparently Trump welcomed the idea. So you could say the ice has been broken. 6 months ago, a phone call like this would have been hard to imagine. Then President Joe Biden had boycotted Putin. Biden termed him a pariah. But the past few weeks have shown how flawed that approach was. Putin and Russia are far from being isolated, and now they are back in the global spotlight, with the US under Trump discussing ways to end conflicts in Ukraine and West Asia. So where does this leave Ukraine? Yesterday's phone call only reaffirms Kyiv's weak position. President Zelensky has issued a statement. He said he was waiting for Trump's call to discuss what he discussed with Putin.
We support all steps aimed at the end of the war. We will support them. But in order to support them, we need to understand what exactly we support. When President Trump has time, he is a busy man. When he has time, he can call me anytime. He has my phone number. We are ready to talk through further steps with pleasure.
And he managed to get that phone call today. He managed to get Trump on the phone earlier today. Both leaders had a call. Ukraine's future is being decided here, remember, and Zelensky says he'd like to know what he's getting into. It is a fair ask, but it also shows what his position is. It's a question that we put to Ukraine's foreign minister yesterday. His name is Andriy Sybiha. We asked him if Ukraine has any leverage in these talks, and this is what he said. What leverage does Ukraine have at this point?
We need support of international community.
Diplomacy will work after more than 2 years of war and thousands of sanctions?
I believe, yes.
Do you think Russia will give up the territory? It's a yes or no question. If there is no ceasefire, do you propose to keep fighting?
We are ready to resist.
How do you keep fighting?
You ask me once again the same question.
Because you've not answered my question.
We have enough capacities to keep fighting.
Like they say, when you're not in the room, you are on the menu. Trump may not have got the deal he wanted, but he very much holds the power to shape Ukraine's future along with Putin. 3 years into this war, Zelensky has fewer options than he started with. Do you think that Ukraine is at its weakest position?
This war is not about Ukraine.
Do you believe that your president was insulted? Yes or no question. Is Ukraine prepared to pay the price for that peace?
No compromises at the cost of territorial integrity and sovereignty.
Diplomacy will work?
Yes.
Do you think Russia will give up the territory if there is no ceasefire? Do you propose to keep fighting?
We are ready to resist.
Do you think there will be peace?
Many countries gave us 3 days.
President Trump said you don't have any cards.
We do not have another choice.
How do you keep fighting?
You ask me once again the same question.
Because you've not answered my question.
We have enough capacities to keep fighting.